Hello and welcome to the SME Focus show powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation, and I'm here this week to highlight aspects of UK manufacturing and in particular things of interest to SMEs. My guest today is Michael Cusack, Chief Sustainability Officer at Advanced Clothing Solutions. ACS, as they're better known, have twice won the King's Award for Enterprise, and they enable brands and retailers to introduce a rental or resale model for clothing. Hi, Michael. Welcome to SME Focus.
Hi, Mark. Thanks very much for inviting me along.
I think you win the guest award for being the longest transmission, so maybe the longest travelling to the party, so to speak, in that you're actually not in the UK at all at the minute. So I really thank you for giving up a bit of your time on your holiday and coming and telling us about your history in ACS and talking about circular economy. So thanks for coming on.
No problem at all. I've been looking forward to it all week in between my gin and tonics.
Perhaps you'll be one of the most lubricated guests we have.
Possibly.
Okay, brilliant. Well, part of the appeal for talking to you rather than interrupting your holiday was to talk about the sort of very challenging logistics business that you work within and the world you're in and the circular economy. But before we get into that, I'm going to delve back and sort of reassure the audience that you come from a production engineering background in terms of your education. You're a Six Sigma black belt, so you've got a lot of things in common with much of the audience. If I journey back in time to June 1986, when you finished your production engineering degree, we had the music of Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. We had the Pet Shop Boys with opportunities. Let's make lots of money. So a long time ago, and you joined BAE Systems. You were there for almost 10 years, covering a wide variety of functions and roles. So can I ask you to tell us what was 10 years like at BAE Systems, and I guess tell us about your transition and the different roles and things you did.
What I would actually say, it was actually nearer 14, because prior to me graduating, I'd actually worked as a student with British Aerospace, as they were called then, and I was working down in Filton. I worked in numerous projects down there, looking at semi-automation of their paint shop. There were some technical problems I had to deal with regarding the use of foam insulation within a missile, and the thermal reaction of that, and looking at different types of foam that could be used to insulate it. And I even got involved in a flexible manufacturing cell. Yes, they were flexible manufacturing cells in the early 80s. And that was really exciting as well. And I actually worked in the Giotto satellite that tracked Halley's Comet as well when I was down there. And every lunchtime, I also got to see Concorde, not every single day, because it's quite noisy, and the Harrier jump jets as well. So it was a really exciting place to be. From there, I moved to commercial aircraft, and I started out, I was looking at master scheduling. From master scheduling, producing like the trading forecasts, as we call them, the use of learning curves, and actually worked back in 1986 with the precursor to the personal computer as well. We didn't have a mouse in those days. And working on the development of learning curves and understanding and how we could actually reduce the amount of effort that we were doing. So it was a fantastic experience for me. I moved around different areas. I was on the graduate development program. I got experience in areas like procurement, inventory control, and manufacturing. Moved into engineering, and then moved into human resource development, looking at ways that we could actually develop better engineers and operatives, working in things like apprenticeships. So it was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. From there, I then moved on to Motorola, involved in the startup. They're absolutely fantastic, product. I was into Star Trek, so to actually get involved in the StarTAC mobile phone was absolutely incredible. Then moved into the manufacture. I loved it. Honestly, I thought I died and gone to heaven when I got my first StarTAC. Honestly, I was using it all the time and much at my cost. But fantastic piece of technology. From there, I moved on to work with ATMs with a company called NCR. That's where I became, although I did start working on the 5 Nines program, which was the precursor to Six Sigma. I then moved in and they brought me into the Six Sigma program, not because of my technical ability, more about my people skills. And what they were looking at is how you could communicate, interact more with operatives and other people when you're working on your Six Sigma program. So I got involved a lot more in things like the cultural side, comms, looking at things like team building, understanding how you can get more out of the people side. From there, I then was brought in. They were looking at a whole new organisational model, and I was asked to get involved with the global engineering organisation. So they spanned all the different divisions of NCR, and they made me, I know it sounds quite a grand title, HR director, but basically what I did was liaise with different people throughout the world on the people aspects of that to optimise the people a contribution to that function. So that was a fantastic experience. I was then moved across, was headhunted by Bombardier, the train manufacturer, and I joined their procurement organisation doing a similar role. And again, they were looking to re-engineer the supply chain and get a third of the costs out. And I worked with them for a couple of years. It was a fantastic experience. Global travel, working, places like Israel, Russia, the challenges associated with that, understanding all the procurement levers. Honestly, it was you couldn't buy development like that. It was just absolutely incredible. I learned so much, and from not just from a technical perspective, but also from a perspective of cultures, different groups of people, and also how to work in a very short time scale. We had so much to do, even just things like attracting some of the top commodity directors throughout the world, and how you actually get them in and how you get them embedded in your organisation. So things like monitoring where they're flying around the world and how I could intersect with them, so I could interview them face to face, and then looking at ways in which I get attractive packages to them, getting them on board, and then looking at ways of fast tracking their induction into the organisation, and then looking at things like remuneration in terms of tying it in with our objectives. It was it was a successful project. I really enjoyed it. I then moved to London. I was headhunted by a firm in London and made a partner in professional services in the construction industry, which I enjoyed. I had some challenges. They were looking at capability matrix to develop, basically the professional services that they offer, and tying it into the development of these individuals and how that could be done, coaching, mentoring, lecturing, at the project, learning circles, etc. Looking at lots of different methodologies and building their expertise, because it was their expertise that was driving the value and the revenue in the business. From there, I took a wee sabbatical between that contract and my next job, and I worked for Transport for London in London, which was absolutely fantastic. It was I worked alongside a company called Spitfire Recruitment, and we were looking at attendance management within Transport for London, which was a major issue using Six Sigma principles. And that was a really exciting project. We had and we did a lot. We did a lot in that short period of time. Having meetings every day in attendance management, bringing in specialist doctors to deal with certain staff. It really opened up my eyes. They had a huge issue, and they put a lot of resource into sorting it out, and that's what we did. On top of that, what we also did, I got involved in other projects. And in fact, when I was leaving, they actually said, would I like to be an operations manager in the Metropolitan line? So I might have had a different career path. But it was a good time, and it was more a sort of career break. I know I was working, but it was like a career break. And I also had a friend who was a Buddhist, and I was staying in a Buddhist commune. I'm not Buddhist, but I was staying in a Buddhist commune when I was there. So it was absolutely fantastic. It was a very unique experience. From there, I moved back into the construction industry and looking at business transformation with a company called Langer, and I really enjoyed that. But after a couple of years, I felt, I had sort of achieved everything I wanted to do in the corporate world, and I came back up to Scotland.
Before we move on to where you are now, can I ask you a couple of questions about the history, or
of course,
particularly, I guess, when you're at Bombardier and NCR, you're dealing with teams that are across many locations and I'm sure many countries. So how did you find the challenges of working with the sort of spread teams, different cultures? And you talked about trying to bring change in very quickly. So any observations on working with remote teams?
You can't do it remotely. You need to start off by, the face-to-face spending time. And what I did was I would actually travel out and work with those individuals, whether it be working from a hotel or the offices, so I could get to know them and understand more about it. So I did a lot of travel in order to build up that sort of chemistry with them, a level of rapport. And once that was up and running, then I was more effective at the remote management. So it was a big investment for the first 3 to 6 months. A lot of face-to-face time, a lot of travel, but it paid huge dividends. I understood the people, they understood me. We got on really well together, and when it came to things like setting objectives, we did it face-to-face. That's how it worked for me, and that's how, I'm not saying it, that's how everybody should do it, but that's what I did. There might be a more effective way of doing it, but I found that, and I know that travel has a sustainability issue, and I also know that there's costs associated with that, but I definitely saw it as an investment, and it did definitely paid off. We needed to move all these projects. You needed to move quick, and if with remote working, different time zones, it's very difficult to get that reaction. People need to believe in me and believe that I can actually help them out. My view was that I was there to help them, although I was a lead. I was there to help them. The best way of helping them is I need to understand them first, what makes them tick, understand, and then also to build that level of rapport. So it was well worth it. And that's how I achieved so much.
Okay. Do you have any broad observations on the differences between, BAE Systems, Motorola, NCR, EC Harris, Bombardier? They're all very product-based businesses, and then Transport for London, Lanco, Rourke, or whatever, that's much more either a service provision or a sort of a long-term project-based business. So any observations on the differences in working within product-focused businesses and then project-focused businesses?
There's huge differences, and even in the product-based organisations, a traditional British business compared to an American business. In terms of adapting, you need a lot of flexibility. In terms of the solutions, project-based organisations, I tend to work on projects all the time. So even when I was in product-based, I approached all my work from a project perspective, and how I reported on projects rather than functional metrics. I treated them as projects, and that's always stood me in good stead. Sometimes I broke the projects down into smaller projects. So major tasks became projects, because in American organizations, they want lots of movement, they want lots of delivery, lots of achievement. They want to feel that, that you're delivering. So that's how I did it. I got round that really well. That was my approach. And again, what I would say to you, it was successful for me in those organizations. So And even to this day, it's still, in the company I work for right now, everything's focused on a project structure.
Okay. Well, I guess a big part of the audience of this podcast is SMEs and business owners and manufacturing business owners. So, there's an applicability that if you want to make change, you've got to set yourself the targets. You've got to make a project, and even if it's a small project, to make sure things get moving. But so it's interesting to hear, how you broke bigger projects into little projects just to track it and move it forward. So that's good. So you've obviously an interesting and diverse sort of career behind where you are now, but let's talk about ACS. Maybe you've described what skills you brought. So kick off, if we could, by telling us about ACS, what it does, and explain to the audience the service it provides and what makes it different.
So ACS is the largest circular fashion hub in Europe. We are basically the infrastructure for circular fashion. Now, circular fashion are business models around things like the rental of clothes, so men's formal wear, informal wear, women's wear, children's wear, babies wear, even tents we rent out. And also the resale of clothes, or returns of clothes. So, for example, if you return an item to, say, ASOS, what happens to it? Well, companies like ours, we can actually step in, and what we do is we process them. So we do a sort of triage and inspection, and then determine, is there stains on it? Does it need repaired? Is there a thread loose? Is there a button missing, etc.? And we can repair it. And we sanitize these items as well. So prior to everything, it's like a deodorizing process, but also what it does is destroy pathogens and viruses that exist in the textile. So we do that as well. And we provide those services to organizations. So many people don't know us because we're behind the scenes, we're the back engine. And we've been doing this now for nearly 28 years. We're sort of born into this circular economy when there was no such thing as a circular economy. We did it for men's kilts. So what we did in Scotland, so that's how it all started out. Kilts are very, very expensive to buy, so why not hire them? And that's what we did. And we've grown in expertise in that and scale over the years. And as I say, we're now encompassing a resale, but not only on resale. These are items that people no longer require, and what we do is we sell them in online auctions, like eBay, Vinted, Depop. But there's also specialist sites as well for things like handbags or top branded items. And it's what we're able to do is we do it cheaper, faster, more accurately than these organizations can do it themselves. They're not going to invest in things like the latest laundry technology or garment cleaning technology, or we've spent nearly 400,000 on a sanitization tunnel where we can sanitize garments. So a lot of brands and retailers can't afford these sort of costs, don't have the expertise, don't have the equipment, don't have the facility. So we offer all that. We've been doing it for a long time. We're continually innovating. We focus a lot on the people aspects as well. It's a growth area, and there's a lot of legislation coming in that will have a big impact on this. So we are expecting astronomical growth over the next 5 years in these areas. Just to make you aware, in terms of the fashion industry, is very much focused on producing new items. And when they're producing these new items, they're consuming lots of resources, lots of energy, lots of water, lots of natural resources that are not replenished. In fact, there was some research done in 2019, and they were projecting by 2030, if fast fashion continued to grow at the rate it was, we'd need 3 planets worth of resources in order to meet demand. So the other thing as well is there's a lot of, I know, no, it depends how you measure it, but it's seen as the second most polluting industry in the world. There are lakes dried up in different parts of the world where we're consuming water for things like jean manufacture. There are rivers that are polluted with dyes that people drink and bathe in. On top of that as well, the working conditions. There's a lot of talk about slaves, child labour, as well as a lot of exploitation in the supply chains. So what we offer is a tenth of the emissions associated with a new item. Most a tenth. It's coming down all the time. And what we do is we prolong and maximise the use of clothes through our circular business models.
Can I ask how many people are at ACS, or turnover, or some sort of, can you quantify how big an organisation you are?
We're an SME. We're quite small. We have a large output. There's only 150 of us. Most of the individuals are operatives. So about 90% of all the people that work in our business are operatives. Very small management team. On top of that, our turnover is quite a modest 7.5 million. But we do expect high growth going forward. We have been expecting this for some time, but pandemics, the problems in the Ukraine, etc., these sort of things have had a big impact on us and slowing it down. And the other thing recently is Shein and also Temu. The Chinese manufacturers of garments are flooding our market with cheap items that, wear them once, throw them away. And all the TikTok culture, and we're actually finding that they're creating markets of even younger people taking the adult behaviour of ordering 10 items and sending 9 back and wearing 1. And a lot of people think these items are resold. I can assure you less than 50% of them will be reused, never mind resold. So it's quite horrific what's going on, but we offer an alternative to it. There's a lot of really good work happening in the UK right now around this field, and we're involved in a lot of it. So again, we might only be an SME with a smallish turnover, but we're making a lot of noise. Some people compare us to a mosquito in the boudoir of fast fashion. You might not see us, but you'll hear us.
Okay, well, I think politically and environmentally, whatever, I think there's probably a greater interest positively in what you can offer than there is for the mosquito. So you might be making the buzzing noise, but there's probably an appetite to actually have you in the market as well. Okay, great. So can I ask what your role is at ACS? So what are your objectives? What do you look to achieve?
So my title's Chief Sustainability Officer. Now, it's not sustainability in the traditional sense. I do a lot of the environmental stuff. I measure our emissions and I work out ways of getting to net zero. I've done really well. We're 60% reduction since our base year in 2019. Zero waste from our business goes to landfill, and we're currently trying to eradicate any incineration as well. We're constantly looking at ways of reducing our consumption. So things like, instead of using cardboard boxes, can be used reusable boxes, but not just ordinary reusable boxes. Reusable boxes made from recycled plastic, which at end of use will be able to be recycled again. So other thing as well is looking at solutions, regenerative solutions, like we used to use hydrocarbon made polythene. So the polythene was used as a shroud to protect the garment when it was in storage. What we've moved to is a tree sap solution. So what happens is they take the tree sap away and they convert it into a polythene substitute. Has all the requirements, meets all the requirements that we need, and at end of life is recycled. But the beauty of this is that in order to replenish the sap that you've taken out the tree, you need to capture carbon dioxide. So it's a fantastic solution. We're constantly, so these are the sort of things I'm working there. I get very much also involved in the social side of the business as well. I get involved in things like modern apprenticeships. I get involved in things like the social impact, working with, collaborating with different groups in terms of refugee community, people with disabilities, with a disability confident leader. Since Brexit, we had a lot of problem bringing in skilled operatives, and what we decided to do is grow our own. And how we grow our own is through developing through apprenticeship schemes, foundation, modern, and graduate apprenticeships. On top of that, I also get involved in things like United Nations Global Compact, to work with projects with them, sustainability development goals. Will be announced later this year. We'll be one of the top 100 leaders in the SDGs. Other things I get involved in is innovation. So I look at re-engineering our processes as part of the development of our people. I've documented all the process in terms of looking at continuous improvement. I've documented them. We're looking at things like digitising. So we've already started digitising a lot of processes from the point of view of creating digital twins and playing around with the characteristics of the processes to optimise them. Reduce costs, increase throughput, reduce the damage to the environment. So looking at ways of taking carbon dioxide, reducing the emissions, reducing water consumption and energy consumption. We're 100% renewables, by the way, and we've also reduced our consumption of water by over 60% over the last 6 years. Other things in terms of innovation, embracing things like AI, automation, I look at that. Looking at some of the challenges we had, we've got automated horizontal movement of garments. I'm now looking at vertical storage solutions. Since Greenfield, it was very difficult for us to be able to afford to build additional floors. It doubled all the costs. So what I'm now looking at is looking at the robotic picking on vertical carousels. When I say vertical carousels, vertical storage, there's so many different solutions. So innovation's a very critical thing that I'm involved in. Other things as well, and the accountants that are listening in all of this, I get involved very much in different funding streams, bringing in grants, looking at different ways of getting funding, collaboration, etc. So I get involved heavily in that. And we look at, we've done very well in terms of grants and soft loans, etc. You know, like replacing old lighting with LED lighting, solar panels in the roof, etc. There's so many fantastic ways of generating improvements, and a lot of these solutions are self-funding. I mean, the cardboard boxes, by the way, replacing cardboard boxes paid for itself within 3 months.
Wow. Well, it's interesting, or it's nice when I heard you talk about the packaging, that you were talking about a true multi-level solution rather than some of the lip service we see. And I guess it's no surprise considering that you're a B Corp certified business. So can I ask you to explain to the audience what B Corp is, and then maybe ask your opinion on, has it brought change? Has it helped you enhance the business? Has it given you a direction for improvement rather than just being another bauble to put onto the website?
So B Corp's very critical in terms of business transformation. B Corp itself is about creating businesses with purpose. And what they've done is they've spent many years developing standards. And what they look at doing is basically creating opportunities to share best practice, but create a framework in which organizations can map themselves again, identify where they are, and identify paths in which they can improve. So it's best practice. And if you want to achieve best practice, you can work your way through it. You have a scoring mechanism, it's all quantifiable, and what you're able to do is look at ways in which you can develop your business in multiple aspects, not just from the environmental side, from the social side. It provides all that there. You can do deep dives into your supply chain in terms of what best practice is. I'm not the brightest person in the world, but I'll tell you something, being able to leverage B Corp has helped us greatly, because that what we've been able to do is improve our business in so many different ways that we wouldn't have known about. We don't have big pots to bring in top consultants all the time. So what we're able to do is use this methodology. So it's been a fantastic opportunity for us to develop our business, look at ways in which, and also to attract business, because other companies look, oh, you're a B Corp, and it's a good way of developing rapport with them. It gives you credibility in the marketplace. And the thing about it is, every year we're able to continuously improve our business based on that framework. It's every 3 years you're reaccredited, but you have to improve every year. And they've just brought out new standards as well, which will be interesting. But I worked with the old standards, so I can't talk too much about the new standards. It's a different scoring mechanism, but they've modernised a lot of what they're doing. So it's fantastic. I mean, I've worked with a lot of systems in the past, Investors and People, ISO. I've worked with Baldrige, the European Foundation for Quality Management. I've worked with all these systems, but this one I really love more than the others. Yeah, I did capability maturity model as well. They're fantastic. They help you out a lot. So the latest one in this evolution is B Corp, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, that's useful to know. You mentioned AI, and everybody's hearing about AI constantly. So can I ask, in particular, how is ACS using AI? Have you got any forward plans to use it in other areas? And maybe if you can try and give an insight on anything that you see that's worked for you, any opportunities that you see might work for SMEs. So can you share your advice on how is your journey with AI gone?
AI is very high impact, and if you don't embrace it, it'll have a negative impact in your business, because everybody else is doing it. And it's going to get more and more. It's very similar to the .com revolution. The companies that never embraced .com are no longer here. AI helps you to do things quicker, faster, more accurately. There's a lot of infrastructure on it. From our business, we've got several AI projects. Many of your viewers will be probably aware is ChatGPT and the impact it can have on personal productivity. But from a process perspective, we've been working on our resale business. And just to give you an idea, the triage, so that's the point by which when we receive items in a box that we have to resell, to the point where it's loaded onto the internet ready to be sold, was taking about 15 minutes an item to do. AI has reduced that to instantaneous. And let me just explain what we do. So you get the item, you put it in a hanger, you digitize it. So the AI scans it, it looks at the label, the care label, etc., identifies what that item is, identifies the condition of that item, identifies the composition, does a wee bit of scraping on the internet and comes up with the recommended retail price of that item. It creates a description of that item, and all that information is then posted onto a channel. For example, like at eBay, it comes up with a selling strategy and monitors it, and when the item is sold, that information then is captured, and it helps to refine the model going forward. All that information, all that work was actually done via AI, and as I say, it's from 15 minutes an item to instantaneous. That's the difference that it can have. Other example right now, we're currently working with Leeds University, and we're looking at ways in which we can identify, well, basically inspect an item, identify flaws on it. So identifies it got a stain, is there a button missing, is there a stitch out, is there a tear in that item? And we're actually looking at AI, so it digitizes the image, and then it knows what good looks like, and it's constantly understanding what is the flaw, and we're working on that. And that's, again, going to save us a lot of time. It's going to improve the consistency of our quality assurance. So that's just a couple of projects. there's so much more that you can do that we're looking at as well. But they are the two key projects that we are working on right now. But I do know that things like some monitoring, where we're looking at creating a full digital twin of all our processes, and we're going to use AI to monitor things like the velocity of items going through, better understanding of bottlenecks, better understanding of consumptions, playing around with different scenarios in terms of improvement. It's honestly, it's unlimited. The only thing that will limit your use of AI is your imagination. So I just see it as a major thing. I hear people with a lot of fears. You need to embrace this. You need to get on board. You need to make it happen for your company's sake and your country's sake, because this is the way forward. And other countries are seizing AI, the opportunities of AI quicker than we are.
Yeah. Okay. You mentioned another way of getting new thoughts and new intelligence into the business, so to speak, with apprenticeships. So can you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts, what type of apprentices you have, what advantages, what challenges you've got from your approach to using apprentices?
Apprenticeships is our talent pipeline. That's how we grow our business. And about 90% of all our operatives are going through a modern apprenticeship. We're really sold on it. We've even developed a foundation apprenticeship with our lead body, the UKFT, UK Fashion and Textile Association. We've got a fantastic relationship with them. We're involved in the evolving standards, so we get involved in different apprenticeship groups in Scotland. There's various groups that manage apprenticeships, the development of the apprenticeships, etc. We work very closely with them. We had a major problem. We lost a lot of our Polish workers at the time of Brexit, and instead of we said, why don't we just create our own? But we don't just create our own. What we also did was we focused in on disadvantaged populations in the local communities. So we focused on people with disabilities. We focused on people from the refugee community, ex-offenders. We actually have some prisoners working on site as well. And it's paying dividends for us. We've got low turnover. We're seen as an employer of choice because we develop people using our modern apprenticeships. We do everything ourselves. So it's our assessors, our internal verifiers. We're what we call an SQA centre. So we're similar to a college in terms of, and other private training providers. We do it for ourselves. We're completely independent, working with the national standards. We've evolved the national standards. We get involved in a lot in terms of circular economy because there's a lack of expertise out there on it. We've got practical examples we get called on all the time. The thing is, I've been doing modern apprenticeships going way back to my days in aerospace. I just think it's a fantastic way of developing people. And we're constantly involved in greater and better ways of training. By the way, we're also a wee project coming up in the future as we're looking at the use of AI to help train people, especially people with neurological disorders. So we're looking at, that's just another application of AI.
Okay. Maybe a slightly different sort of question. Obviously, you're experts in the circular economy, and I think it's something that a lot of people probably have a desire for, but probably not a lot of knowledge. You're also up in Scotland where you have maybe a hybrid political situation or a different political situation, different parties up there for the rest of the UK. So can I ask you to tell us more about the impact of legislation and politics on the circular economy, Scotland's Circular Economy Act, for example? So can you give us a run through on how legislation is going to impact on things, the opportunity maybe for legislation to push things along? How do you see legislation, circular economy in the future looking?
I mean, it's the way forward. There's unlimited opportunities from it. It's a huge market is going to grow. You probably heard the legislation like extended producer responsibility. Basically, what this is all about is the end of use of an item doesn't mean end of life. And what we try and do is perpetuate these materials. So instead of a sort of linear process, we look at the inputs into a system, the processing of it, and the outputs of the system. The outputs we look at, how can we make them inputs back into the process? So I'm using a lot of my old as I called it, production engineering techniques, going back a long time ago, about re-engineering processes and having a greater understanding of these outputs, what's happening with them, understanding, basically how can these materials be reused. So that's what we're looking at. We're redesigning processes. That's the whole purpose. It's about prolonging the life and maximising the use of resources, precious natural resources. And just to put it in, for every one job that's used in terms of processing things like items, incinerating or landfill, you can create up to 10 jobs by perpetuating that resource. So things like repurposing, recycling, upcycling, remaking of these items, prolonging the life of the items through things like rental and resale. All these circular business models create a lot more jobs, a lot more opportunities. They add additional value to what is seen as, a redundant resource that, waste. So you're turning waste into value. It can only be good. It's tough, don't get me wrong, but it's a growth market, and as it grows, more and more money will become available to invest in it and perpetuate it. It's the way forward. It's the only way forward. We see the state of the planet right now.
But what's the situation in terms of legislation encouraging it? Because obviously you talked about the Far Eastern sort of low value, low quality company shipping into Europe, maybe even more so if Trump tries to close America to them. So you've got this disposable fashion. It's one driver. What's the situation in terms of legislation maybe countering that and encouraging the circular economy?
There's fantastic legislation all over the world right now. In Europe, they've got a bank of legislation, about 9 different acts that they've implemented, and they're now coming to life. That will be a barrier to trade for UK businesses trying to get into Europe if you can't meet their standards. In the UK, we're already doing a lot of work, especially in the fashion industry, on extended producer responsibility. It's a bit similar to the WEEE legislation when it came out.
Yeah.
And on top of that, in Scotland, you've got the Circular Economy Act that was a multi-party group brought together and developed, and that'll have ramifications as well. Now, you can either look at these things as threats or opportunities. I know I'd rather look at them as opportunities, and they are fantastic opportunities to adapt your business. We can't continue with this linear production system. We need to look at ways in which to make these things more circular and adding value. And in my experience, over the last few years, only in the fashion industry, what I would say to you is there's huge value in it. We're still fighting the good fight. We're finding brands and retailers still view it from a cannibalization of their traditional business, but they are opening up, and they're now seeing some of these processes, some of this that we offer, the solutions that we offer are complementary and can actually create additional revenue streams. So the world is changing. We just need to change that bit quicker and seize these opportunities. The legislation is coming in. It's just a matter of time. And as I say, it's a great opportunity. And the thing about it is the quicker you embrace it, the greater the opportunities that you get.
Okay, brilliant. A little bit of a change of tack. Normally at this point, I would ask people what sort of topic, what thing interests them, and they discuss at a kitchen, at a party when they were talking to someone. I guess as you're still on holiday, so if you were to go into a bar, what topic would you be discussing? It could be football. What's your chat to somebody when you're talking? What's your passion?
My passion's actually interior design. I love actually the refurbishment of houses. I've got an old coach house in the north of Scotland, and I've been working to do one room a year. I love it. Going to sites like Pinterest, and I look at different designs, etc., different materials, and I just love it. It consumes a lot of my spare time, and I get a lot of pleasure from it. I love the journey. I love the output. I'm already thinking about my next project when this project's finished.
Fantastic. Sounds a much more interesting conversation to talk about than football from my perspective anyway, so good on you. Penultimate question of today, and it's again traditional one if you watch any previous episodes, is to ask you, what have you got planned, or what do you hope to achieve in the next 12 months? And that can be a business question, a personal question, it's up to you. So what's your hope or aim for the next 12 months?
The big thing about is scaling up our business, bringing in additional clients. On a specific, I have a big passion towards workwear and uniforms, and I see it as a great opportunity to pilot extended producer responsibility. I think it's going to be a multi-million pound business. I think that we're going to have a massive impact on that industry, a massive impact on the environment as a consequence of it. I am currently working with EasyJet on a project with their crew wear. And just to give you the significance of that, for the crew in EasyJet alone, to replace all their uniforms, you're talking about 250,000 items. And some of the things that you can do with it is, and I've got the permission of EasyJet, is we could actually transform some of these uniforms into school uniforms and then give schools free uniforms. So it's transformational. So that's what I can only see good things. I think if you talk to me in a year's time, we'll have evolved even further, far further. And the opportunities I've got, I actually see maybe 3-4-fold increase in our turnover over the next couple of years. And from there, it'll just take off. We're ahead of our time. And there's other companies like us in the UK as well. We're ahead of our time, and we're just waiting for this legislation. Well, when I say waiting, we're trying to make it happen and influence it. So the next year is probably going to be the most exciting and compelling and challenging year of my life, and I expect major outcomes from it.
Okay. Fantastic. So how would people go to find out more about ACS, and is there somewhere they can go to follow you, or how would they contact you?
You're welcome to share my details. I'm in LinkedIn. I'm quite active in LinkedIn. We have our own website. We've got our own company accounts in every major social media channel. The other thing as well is we invite people on site. So if there's a company wanting to come for a tour and see some of the things we're doing, we do deep dives into things that are pertinent to people, whether it's a social thing, the innovation, looking at the use of innovation. We share everything. We believe very strongly in collaboration. We don't have all the answers, and we reach out to other organisations to look at ways that we can work jointly together. So contact me. You'll get a very positive response.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Michael, for being a guest, particularly as you're actually giving up your holiday to talk to us at the moment. So that's fantastic. Can I ask you, do you have one final sentence, a question, observation, a thought? I don't know. What's your one final sentence to sign off this episode with?
Genuinely, I would say to you, it's a vocation in terms of circular economy for the good of our country. We need to all embrace it. It is the way forward. It's the only way forward. I could have given you something more spiritual or something, but the bottom line is this is absolutely critical that we all embrace this. It's more than just a great opportunity. It's something that we need to do.
Brilliant. Sounds like a good wrap up. So I will thank you very much for being a guest, Michael, and I will do the small print, so to speak, at the end of the episode by just saying to people, if you'd like to get in touch with a comment, a suggestion, or More importantly, if you'd like to appear in a future episode, or if you'd like to volunteer, somebody volunteered Michael to come on, then please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, or Joe Reynolds. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. From me, Mark Weymouth, the Science Specialist Plus Automation. Have fun. Cheers.